Alright, hi. Continuing with our pipeline enforcement videos, I have the DIMP enforcement guidelines, the Gas Distributed and Pipeline Integrity Management Enforcement Guide, Title 49 CFR Part 192, Subpart B. Introduction. The materials contained within the document consist of the guidance, techniques, procedures, and other information and internal use of the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration pipeline safety enforcement staff. The guideline documentation is described in the practice of but used by the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration pipeline safety investigators, other enforcement personnel is undertaken with the compliance, inspection, enforcement activities. The document is a U.S. government property and is to be used in conjunction with the official duties of the Federal Pipeline Safety Regulations. See it Title 49 CFR Part 190 through 199 discusses the guidance documentation contains legally binding requirement. The document is not a regulation, creates no legal obligations. The regulation is controlling. The material in the document are explanatory in nature and reflect the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration's current application of regulations in effect with the time of issuance of the guidance. Alternative approaches are not precluded in safety requirements of applicable regulation. Nothing in the guidance of this document is intended to diminish, otherwise affect the authority of the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration to carry out its statutory, regulatory, or other official functions to commit the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration to taking any action that subjects or discretion. Nothing in the document is intended to or does not create any legal, equitable right or benefit of substantial procedural enforcement at law by any person or organization against Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration, its personnel, state agency, and officers carrying out the program authorized under federal law. Discussion about the specific investigation enforcement cases are made according to the specific facts and circumstances ahead. Investigation compliance determination often require careful legal and technical analysis, complicated issues, and although the guidance of the document serves as a reference for the staff responsible for the investigation enforcement, no said the procedures of the policy can be replaced. The need for active or ongoing consultation with supervisors, colleagues, or official chief counsels and enforcement materials. Common suggestions for the future changes in addition to the guidance documentation are invited should be forwarded to the supervisor. Material in the guidance documented may be modified or revoked without prior notice of the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration management. Table of Contents 192 1000. What are the definitions? Subpart 192 1003. What is the regulation? Subcover. What is 192 1005? What must a gas distributor operator other than master meter or small LPG operator do to implement the part? What is 192 107? What required elements integrity management plan? 197A, knowledge. B, identify threats. C, evaluate rank and risk. D, identify and implement measures to address risk. E, measure performance monitoring results of evaluated effectiveness. 7, periodic evaluation improvement. And G, reportment results. 1009, 192 1009, 191 and 112. What is what an operator report mechanical fitting fails? What is 192 111? What records must be operator keeper? 192 113. What may operator deviate from the record period inspection under this part? 192 1015. What master meter of the small liquid petroleum gas LPG operator do implement the subpart? And A, general. 192 115B. What are the required elements of the integrity management plan? Knowledge, identifying rank, risk, identifying and implementing measures to mitigate risk, measure performance monitoring results, evaluate effectiveness, periodic evaluation improvement. 192 1015C. What are the required elements of the integrity management plan? C, records. Alright, for the complete glossary of terms, please refer to the following link, phmsa.gov/static files/phmsa/pipeline/tq glossary HTML. Alright, enforcement guidance, distribution integrity management, part 192, revision date 21st of December 2012, Distributed integrity management, part 192, 12th December 21st, 2012. Code section 192.101. What is the definitions apply to the subpart? The existing code's language. The following definitions are applied to the subpart. Excavation damage. Many of the impact of the results needed for the repair or replace underground facilities due to weakening, partial, complete destruction of the facility, including but not limited to protective coating, lateral support, cathodic protection, and or housing of the line device facility. Hazardous leaks. The following definitions apply. Hazardous leak means a leak representing an existing probable hazard, person or property. Requires immediate repair or continuous action until the conditions are no longer hazardous. The definition of integrity implementing integrity management plan, or the IM plan, means a written explanation of the mechanism procedures that the operator will use to implement or integrity of the management program to ensure the compliance with the subpart. Also, the following definition: integrity management program, IM program instead of plan, means an overall approach to the operator to ensure the integrity of its gas distribution system. The following definition of mechanical fitting means a mechanical device used to connect the sections of pipe to their mechanical fitting, applies only to stab type fittings, not follower type fittings, bolted type fittings, and other compression type fittings. A small LPG operator means an operator liquid petroleum gas distribution pipeline that serves fewer than 100 customers for a single source. The origin of the codes is 192 through 192-11374, Federal Register 63906, December 4th, 2009. Last amendment was 192-11776, FR 5494, February 1st, 2011. Interpretation summaries, advisory bulletins, alternate notice summaries without other materials and source without guidance and information. A line does not have the experience of a leak or release. The line does not have the experience of a leak or release to be considered to have been damage or excavation damage. 2. An operator need not classify leaks or hazard or non-hazardous provided with the leaks. Repair of all leaks were found to qualify the exclusion. An operator must treat all leaks as if they were hazard, providing with immediate repair and continuous action until the leak is repaired. Examples of a probable violation. 1. The operator does not have a comprehensive list of definitions. 2. The operator does not include the definitions in distribution integrity management plan or the DIP plan in other plans. The operation definitions are consistent with the Part 192. The examples of evidence are copywritten distribution integrity management plan or applicable portions that depict on emissions deficiency in plan and operator records. Other special notations, there was none. Enforcement guidance, distribution integrity management plan, Part 192, revision date December 21st, 2012, code of section 192.1013, 1003. What does the regulation subpart cover? The existing code of language. Generally, the subpart prescribes minimum requirements for the integrity management program for any of the gas distribution pipeline covered under this part, including liquid petroleum gas systems. A gas distribution operator other than a master meter operator or a small liquid petroleum gas operator must follow the requirements of section 192-1005 and 192-1013 of this subpart. A master meter operator or a small liquid petroleum gas operator for the gas distribution of the pipeline must follow the requirements of 192-1015 of this subpart. Origin of code 192.113 74 Federal Registration 63906 December 4th, 2009. The last amended is not applicable, not accessible. Interpretation summaries. Interpretation of public issuance 11-016 date September 12, 2012. Responsive at Atomos Energy September 12, 2012 with the Distribution Integrity Management Program FAQ C37 asserting the pipeline hazard material safety position of the farm taps have been historically considered service lines or subset distribution pipelines are thus subject to all the distribution line requirements. Interpretation PI 1108 and date of the April 19th, 2011. Response to the Northern Natural Gas Company of the April 19th, 2011 Distribution Integrity Management Program. The FAQ C37 explained the operators of the distribution gathering transmission lines whose system includes farm tabs, meeting the definition of distribution lines must be having distribution and integrity management program covering these facilities. The advisory bulletin alert notice summaries are not available. Other reference material surface sources, distribution integrity management FAQ C2.1 must have been shaving an LNG facility connected with the distribution pipeline being considered a defensive or a distribution integrity management program or plan. The guidance of the distribution integrity program must address all distribution systems covered in this part, including the systems in which the operator transportation, natural gas, liquid petroleum gas, landfill gas, or liquid natural gas, the liquid petroleum LPG, landfill gas LFG, liquid natural gas is LNG, and a propane air mixture. 2. All distribution pipelines or fluencies are subject to the distribution integrity management program, including main valves, fittings, regulatory stations, drips, service lines, risers, services, meters, regulator sets, farm taps, high-pressure distribution systems, and low-pressure distribution systems. 3. The operator must follow the procedure of the Defensive Integrity Management Program. Any individual procedure document must include the management approval, origin date, and effective date of the last revision. For additional information, see the guidance of Sections 192-1005. 4. Master meter and small liquid petroleum gas operators are treated differently in the Distribution Integrity Management Program rule. The larger operators, the master meter, and the small liquid petroleum gas operators, the Integrity Management Program must include the appropriate set of the mechanisms, procedures developed implementing each program element. The operator may employ the written explanation of the process employed mechanism to develop, implement a required element of the last specific written procedure. The integration management program for these pipelines should reflect the relative specific of the types of pipeline. The defensive integration management program could be concise but sufficient with the operator personnel to understand the implementation of the program on a consistent basis. For examples of probable violation, the operator of defensive integrity management does not include all operator distribution pipeline facilities. The operator does not address the liquid petroleum gas or other types of transported when applicable. 3. The necessary regulated pipeline system are not covered by the Distribution Integrity Management Program. The Distribution Integrity Management Program does not include all pipeline or fluencies. An example of evidence is a copy of written Defensive Integrity Management Program application portion of the show was the mission of deficiencies in the Distribution Integrity Management Program. Copies of the applicable page in the Defensive Integrity Management Program showing the operator has not as clearly stated otherwise type of gas as permitted. Operator records, documented photographic evidence demonstrating the violation, documentation, oral written statements of the operator personnel. Other special notations is not foreseen. Enforcement guidelines. Continuing. Distribution Integrity Management, Part 192, December 21st, 2012, 192-1005. What is the mass gas distribution? Must the gas distribution operator, other than a master meter or small liquid petroleum gas operator, to implement this subpart? No later than August 2nd, 2011, the gas distribution operator must develop and implement an integrity management program that includes a written integrity plan and management program. In a written integrity management plan as specified in 192-107. The origin of the code is 192 through 113, 74 Federal Register 63906, December 4th, 2009. Last amended. Not foreseen. Interpretation summaries not foreseen. Advisory bulletins and alert not foreseen. Other reference and materials addressing the Distribution Integrity Management Program file ruling preamble the Federal Registers Volume 74 number 232 Friday December 4th 2009. The rules and regulations at the comment topic for implementing time the page 63909. The comment topic 11 required documentation page 63915 Distribution Integrity Management Program Management Federal Administration question frequently asked questions. C31. If an operator has both natural gas and liquid petroleum gas systems, must it have two separate distribution integrity management plan, and may have a single plan. C332 must an operator have the defensive integrity management plan covering all the systems, and could it have a separate plan for the different systems or service areas? C33 will the companies operating with several states need to develop an individual distribution integrity management plan for each state. C34. What is the relationship between operation and maintenance manual and the distribution integrity management plan? How does the new defensive integrity management plan rule impact operators of the gas pipeline system on the military base, federal government, Indian tribal government land? C37. An operator required to include the farm taps in their distribution integrity management plan. C38. What do operators need to implemented by the August 2nd, 2011? C310, what are the other requirements of the distribution system put in service after these August 2nd, 2011? C311, what are the requirements of the distribution system required by the December 2nd, 2011? All right, Gas Piping Technology Committee, the GPTC Guide Material Appendix of the G1928. Section 1, its introduction, 1 Part 1, Sections 1 through 13, Section 2, elements of the Distribution Integrity Management Plan 2 through 1 through 2, and the Section 10 for the sample of the Distribution Integrity Management Plan program approach of 10.1 and 10.2. The guidance information form, the 192-1000 Integrity Management Program of the IAM Plan, means a written explanation of mechanisms, procedures that the operator will use to implement the Integrity Management Program to ensure the compliance with the subpart. An operator must have a written Distribution Integrity Management Program, Distribution Integrity Management Plan, the DIMP. Contains and reference procedures developing implementation, each required in an element section statute 192-107. Two, the procedure must have an adequate detail to clearly describe the manner in which each of the requirement will be met. Three, the procedure must document it so the inspector can make a reasonable determination as to the accuracy, thoroughness, and the procedure. The procedure need to be provided with a description of who, what, when, where, and why, and how. The operator will perform the elements of the distribution integrity management plan that can be concise and still must sufficient for the operator personnel to understand and implement the program on a consistent basis. Operators must follow this procedure. The distribution integrity management program and the individual procedure document should include the management approvals, origin date, and the effective date of the last revision. From 192-107, the Integrity Management Program of the IM program meets an overall approach by the operator to ensure the integrity of the gas distribution system. The operator integrity management program must include the appropriate set of procedures developed in the implementation of each of the program element as required in Statute 192-1007. An operative distribution integrity management plan may vary in length and complexity depending on the specific equipment and service and variety of the facilities, the location, reference, and versus incorporated material. The structure of the Defensive Integrity Management Program is not prescribed, may consist of a single comprehensive Defensive Integrity Management Program, multiple cross-reference volumes, and reference documents. The Defensive Integrity Management Plan can be made available to personnel in hard copy. The computer-based documented must be accessible at location. The Defensive Integrity Management Program require activities are conducted with the Defensive Integrity Management Program computer-based. The operator must provide with the means to access the procedure in the event of the computer failure. 8. Purchased or off-the-shelf plans. Procedures must fully customize the operator to cover the specific consistent operating requirements. Procedure must have the adequate detail to clearly describe the manner in which each of the requirement will be met. Guidance specific to the operator will transfer the in-pipeline's assets to an operator to another operator, but retains responsibility by the contract of the maintenance, distribution, integrity management activities. 1. Which operator is accountable for the implementing of the Distribution Integrity Management Plan? The ops and the states, inspectors, operators, compliance with the pipeline safety, and the operator is defined in Title 49 CFR 192.3 as a person who engages in the transportation of gas. A person is further defined as an individual firm, joint venture, partnership, the corporation, association with the state, municipality, municipality, cooperative association, joint stock association, including with any trustee, receiver, assignee, the personal representative thereof, and any operator retaining the responsibility for operation maintenance responsibility, including the defensive integrity management program activities. The operator is responsible for complying with the pipeline safety regulations. Example of probable violations: the operator does not have the defensive integrity management program written, implemented by August 2nd, 2011. The defensive integrity management program does not contain the necessary procedures to demonstrate the defensive integrity management program was written and is implemented. 3. A new system was put into the operation service without the written defensive integrity management program. And also, another probable violation is an operator who is acquired with the existing system does not continue the operation under the existing defensive integrity management program and did not incorporate the acquired assets to the defensive integrity management program. Examples of evidence are copies of the applicable pages of the Defensive Integrity Management Program showing the operator has not clearly stated that the Defensive Integrity Management Program was written and implemented on August 2nd, 2011, and documented oral or written statements for the operator personnel. Other special notations, they're not foreseeable. Enforcement guidance. Distribution integrity management, December 21st, 2012. Revision date code section 192-1007A. The section titled "We are required." What are the required elements of the integrity management plan? The existing code of written integrity management plan must contain the procedures developing and implementing the following elements: knowledge. Operator demonstrating understanding the gas distribution developed for reasonable available information, identifying the characteristics of the pipeline design, operation, environmental factors that are necessary to assess the applicable threats and risks of the gas line distribution pipeline, considering the information gained in the past design, operation, maintenance, identifying the information and additional information needed to provide the plan, gaining the information over the time for the normal activities conducted on the pipeline, for example, the design, construction, operation, and maintenance activities. 4. Developing implementation for the process within the integration management program will be reviewed for the periodically refined and improved as needed. Provide the capture, retention, and the data of any new pipeline installed. The data must include a minimum for the location where the new pipeline is installed and the material of which it was constructed. The origin of the code is 192/1374 at 63906, December 4th, 2009. Last amended 116/76 FR 5494, February 1st, 2011. Interpretation summaries, not foreseeable advisory bulletins, alert, notice, and summary. The advisory bulletin 1206. Issued on May 7, 2012, the Pipeline Hazard and Safety Administration is issuing an advisory bulletin to remind operators of gas and hazardous liquid pipeline facilities to verify the records relating to the operating specifications for maximum allowable operating pressure, or MAOP, required of Title 49 CFR 192.517, maximum operating pressure MOP. It was required by the type 49 CFR 195.310 advisory bulletin as an ADB 1205 issued on March 23, 2012. The Pipeline Hazard Safety Administration urges owners, operators to conduct comprehensive reviews of their cast iron distribution pipeline system replacement programs and to accelerate the pipeline rehabilitation, replacement, aging, and high-risk pipe. In addition, with the advisory bulletin notes the regulations requirement for the natural gas distribution companies to develop a distribution integrity management plan for the pipelines owned and operated and maintained. Advisory bulletin of the 1101 issued January 10th, 2011, the Pipeline Hazard Safety Administration 2010-0381 Pipeline Safety establishing maximum allowable operating pressure, maximum operating pressure under the record of evidence, integrity management, risk identification, assessment, prevention, and mitigation. The Advisory Bulletin ADB 09202 issued in September 30th, 2009, a potential issue of weldable compressional coupling installation. Other material resources address the distribution integrity management program or plan. Final rule preamble to Federal Legislation 74 number 232 Federal December 4th, 2009 rules and regulation comment topic 20 knowledge of the pipeline environmental factors page 63919 distribution integrity management frequently asked questions C42 can the distribution integrity plan incorporate and reference the operating procedure from their other manuals and plans? C4A 1. What the rules require the operator known as in the system, the operator excavates simply and to gather information about the parts of the system, whether it may or not have been completely knowledge. C4A2. There are some characteristics about the operator system that may be known during the development of the integration management plan with the pipeline has safety administration expectation for the following of the voids. C43, C4A3, who qualifies as subject matter expert. C4A4, what detail will be required to collected for the new gas line pipelines going in the ground. C4A5, what is the compromised reasonable available information. C4A6, most operators include the sources used to be demonstrated in understanding the gas distribution system. The Gas Pipeline Technology Committee, the GPTC Guide Material Appendix G192.8, in the section of knowledge for the General of the Gas Pipeline Technology Committee provides the useful list of the records for the information is gathered in the addition with the information of the Gasline Pipeline Technology Committee, the Defensive Integrity Management Program Appendix of the Gasline Pipeline Technology Committee Guide Material Appendix G192. 17 contains a list of explicit requirements for the reports, inspection, tests, and written procedural records and similar actions. Alright, the guidance information. 1. The operator must have a written distribution integrity management plan that contains a procedural for the developing and implementing each of the requirements of Section 192, 107. The procedure must have an adequate detail clearly described in the manner in which each of the requirement will be met. The procedure will need to be provided with description of who, what, when, where, and how the operator will implement the elements. The operator must follow the procedure of the Defensive Integrity Management Plan, and individual procedures documented should include the management approvals over origin date, effective date of the last revision for the additional information for the guidance of Section 192, 105. 2. An operator must have the knowledge of the natural gas distribution system, including but not limited to the following characteristics: location, material composition, piping sizes, joint methods, construction method, date of the installation, soil conditions when appropriate, operating and design, pressure, history, operating experience, performance data, and condition with the system. Any other characteristics notified by the operator important to understanding the information. Information must be obtained from the source of including the system maps and construction records for work management system, geographical information, corrosion records, personnel who have the knowledge of the system, subject matter experts. The operator must have a list of the information sources that used to develop the Defensive Distribution Integrity Management Program. The operator's knowledge of the system should have focus on the characteristics which are needed for the assess the threat, evaluate the risk of the system, identify the reduction in the measures, group the facilities will likely lead to characteristics. An operator must begin with reviewing the data, characterize the unique distribution system as an initial setup of the initial step of identifying threats, assessing, prioritizing threats. Characteristics evaluated by the operator must allow the operator to identify the facilities with known potential problems. For example, operators should examine the design of the characteristics joining the method to determine if their system contains mechanically joined pipe that can be a threat to the integrity of the system. 5. The operators of the transport the gas other than natural gas needed to describe in the Defense Distribution and Integrity Management Program how the characteristics of the gas impact the threats and risk, including the differences from natural gas. The term environmental factors has caused some confusion. Clarify the Defensive Integrity Management Program final ruling is in response to the comment number 420. Environmental factors are necessary to assess the applicable threats and risks of the gas distribution pipeline. Does not refer to the consequences. 74 Federal Registration 63906 and 63919. The term environmental is used. The rule does not refer to the Environmental Protection Agency type of the environmental factors, such as mercury regulators or the PCBSs or contaminated soils, which require recommendation when required. It does not refer to the operating environmental characteristics, including but not limited to population density, landslide, corrosive soil, valve placement, seismic zone, flood zone areas, with wall-to-wall paving of the front frost impacts of geological conditions, construction activity significantly near the construction, washout type of the soils, etc. Some of these factors will not apply to certain operators, but the operators of the Distribution Integrity Management Program must include information about the environmental factors reviewed, but does not need to describe the criteria that use the selected, developing, and knowledge of their system. 7. The operator is required to have the list of information sources used to develop the distribution integrity management program to demonstrate that they have considered all reasonable available records. All reasonable available records which provide the information on the significant impact on the system integrity must include 8. Some historical data may no longer be applicable to concurrently condition of the pipeline system. If the pipe was replaced, the data of the previous pipe may be no longer relevant. Such data may be relevant for the circumstances, construction practices, coding, backfill materials, pipe materials, environmental conditions of the pipe prior to the replacement existing elsewhere, the relevant to the existing risk in the operating system. For example, the bar steel pipe that has been replaced, but some of the bar steel exists in the system. The data concerning with the replaced pipe may still be relevant. 9. If the operator acquires the pipeline, historical records were obtained as they're not reasonable available. The records do not need to be recreated. However, the missing data must be identified with such of the operating distribution integrity management plan. A plan must be established with the collection of the relevant information. 10. Operators need to consider the failures without release of identifying the potential threat, the type of the information considered reasonable available. For the example, the operator may evaluate the pressure regulators froze off. And we're upset with the system, and we're upsetting the system in the system that could have occurred. 11. For the data identified with the operator as needed for the threat identification risk evaluation needs to be processed identified facilities for which the records are missing and inaccurate or incomplete. 12. The collection of additional data improving the existing data is only required to occur as the normal pipeline activities over time. There must be the mechanism the individual performing normal pipeline activities to know where the additional data is needed. 13. Forms and record-keeping, procedural data management, and other methods of collecting information related to the physical attributes and or operating maintenance activity distribution pipeline facility should be appropriately modified to provide with the collection of reasonable available information. Personnel should be trained with the properly collect and record the needed information used the required forms. Example of probable violation: the operator 1. The operator does not have procedure that covers the task required. 2. The operator fails to follow the written procedure. 3. The operator did not demonstrate that they have looked at all reasonable available sources to find the information for the past design, operators, inspection, and maintenance activities. 4. The operator did not specify the list with the documents were used to assemble the knowledge of its system. 5. The operator does not gather or use reasonable available data to enter the pipeline that could be relevant to performing their threat assessment at risk evaluation as needed to groups like facility. The distribution integrity management plan 6 did not identify the records containing the appropriate characteristics of the pipeline operating condition to assess each threat and subcategory to the operator's pipeline. Examples of probable violations: 7. The distribution integrity management plan did not identify the records containing the appropriate environmental characteristics assessed each of the threat category subcategory of the operator's pipeline. 8. There is no procedure identifying needing of the missing, inaccurate, and incomplete data. The operator has not identified the missing, inaccurate, or incomplete data. 10. The operator has identified missing, inaccurate, incomplete data, but does not have the procedural plan to collect the missing data information over time. 11. The operator failed to retain the data of the new pipeline installed. Examples of evidence are copies of the applicable pages of the Defensive Integrity Management Program showing the operator has not clearly stated that the document used to develop the knowledge of the system. 2. The list of documented used and developed the knowledge of the system and the inadequate identifying the design, operation, environmental characteristics of the pipeline system. 3. The copies of applicable pages of the Distribution Integrity Management Program show that the Distribution Integrity Management Program is not detailed enough for the inspector to make a reasonable determination as to the accuracy, thoroughness of the process. 4. The documented photographic evidence demonstrate the violation. Documented or written statements for the operator personnel. Other specifications not advisable at this moment. Alright, enforcement data, distribution integrity management, part 192, December 21st, 2012, 192, 107B, with section title, what are the required elements for the integrity management plan? The existing code language of written integrity management program must be contained in the procedure developing the implementation of the following elements. B. Identifying the threats. The operator must consider the following categories: threats as gas distribution pipeline, corrosion, natural forces of excavation damage, other outside forces, damaged materials, as well as equipment failure, incorrect operation. Other concerns that could threaten the integrity of the pipeline. An operator must consider reasonably available information to define the existing potential threats. So of the data may include, but not limited to, incident and leaking history, corrosion control records, continuing surveillance records, and patrolling records, maintenance history, and excavation damage and experience. Origin code 1 and 2 fast 113 74 Federal Register 63906 December 4th 2009. Last amendment 192 117 76 Federal Register 5494 February 1st 2011. Interpretation summaries are not as foreseen at this time. Advisory bulletin alert and notice summaries. Advisory bulletin 1205 issued March 23rd 2012. The Pipeline Hazard Material Safety Administration urges the owner-operator to conduct a comprehensive review of the cast iron distribution pipeline system replacement program to accelerate the pipeline repair, rehabilitation, replacement of the aging of the high-risk pipe. In addition, with the advisory bulletin notes the regulation requirement of the natural gas distribution companies to develop a distribution integrity management plan for the pipelines owned and operated and maintained. Advisory Bulletin 1203 issued March 6, 2012. Pipeline Hazard Material Safety Administration issuing the Diversity Bulletin. It alert operated with the Dicer Crow pipe 8,000 high density polyurethane pipe. The Discro 8,000 of the potential material degradation. Advisory Bulletin 1105 issued August 2011. The Pipeline Hazard Safety Administration advisory to remind owners and operators of gas and hazard liquid pipelines to the potential for the damage to pipeline facilities caused by the passage of hurricanes. Advisory Bulletin 1104 issued March 20th, 2012. Pipeline safety potential damage for the pipeline facilities caused by flooding. Advisory Bulletin 1102 is issued February 9th, 2011. Pipeline safety damage by abnormal ice buildup of the gas distribution system. Advisory Bulletin 1003 issued March 12, 2010. Pipeline safety. The Arthur welded quality issued due to the improper transition misalignment. Welding practices larger diameter on line pipe. Advisory Bulletin 0902 issued September 30th, 2009. Potential issues of weldable compressional coupling installation. Advisory Bulletin 082 issued March 4th, 2008. Is issue related to mechanical couplings used in the natural gas distribution system. Advisory Bulletin of 0701 issued in September 6, 2007. Updated notifications expectability of the premature brittle and light cracking of the older plastic pipe. Advisory Bulletin of the 0603 issued November 22, 2006. Notice for the operator of the natural gas hazard liquid pipeline to accurately locate and make underground pipelines before construction related to excavation activities commence. Advisory Bulletin 0505 issued August 10, 2005. Inspection testing piloted operated pressure relief valves. Advisory Bulletin 0401 issued September 29, 2004. Hazard associated dewatering of the pipelines. Advisory Bulletin 0201 issued May 24, 2002. Notice of the operated natural gas hazard liquid pipelines to encourage the continued implementation of safe excavation practices. Advisory Bulletin 9705 issued November 12, 2097. Potential failure to check the valve following the remanufacturing of Advisory Bulletin 9703 issued March 4th, 1997. The potential soil subsidence of the pipeline facility. Advisory Bulletin 9502 issued August 9th, 1995. Increased pipeline transportation security measures. Advisory Bulletin 9405 issued November 2nd, 1994. Pipeline affected with the flooding and alert notice of the 9201 issued January 8th, 1992. Lighting inducing electrical discharge from the tracer wire to the plastic pipe. The alternate notice is 8901 issued in March 8, 1989, updating and finding relative factors contributing with operational failures of the pipeline constructed by the ERW prior to 1970. Alert Notice 8701 issued in March 13, 1987. Incident involving the fillet welding of the full encirclement repair sleeve of the 4-inch American Petroleum Institute 5LX 52 pipeline, King Prussia, Pennsylvania. October 7th, 1986, pipeline failure. The alert notice of the 8602 issued February 26, 1986. Plastic pipe mechanical coupling. Other references, material sources addressed in the Distribution Integrity Management Program Final Rule. Preamble to the Federal Register, the Volume 74, number 2232, 5 December 4th, 2009, Rules and Regulations. Comment to Topic 21, Threat Identification Source of the Information page on 63920. Distribution Integrity Management, frequently acquisition questions. 64B1, must the operator use the computer-based risk analysis model. C4B2, must the 8 threats be considered for every pipeline type. C4B3, the Department of Integrity, the Distribution Integrity Management Program requires including the condition of the facility and the risk of the potential damage for the external sources. The cross-bore of the gases lines of the sewers have been reported at 2 to 3 miles per the high-risk area. The predominate with the trench installation methods were used for the gas line installations, where the sewers and the gas line proximity of each other and does not potential for the cross of the bore of the sewers, resulting in the gas line intersection with the sewers needed to be determined. C4B4, after the pipeline overbuild with the threat should be over the other concerns. The threat category containing the pipeline overbuild, the building put over the pipeline. C4B4, C4B5. We use leakage cause which could experience the past in identifying the threats. For example, washouts in the system that are not caused by the leak of the past, with the washout identifying with the threat. Should the washouts be classified potential threat to the possible contain coding damage. 64B6, since we have not been experiencing issues with the pre-1973 ALDYA pipe in the past, we did not subdivide plastic pipe in the risk evaluation. It is a potential threat to the only because the operator experienced. Should we have treated it as an applicable threat? C4B6 must be considered a historical leak after the section of the pipe has been replaced. 64B8, we often replace the section of the pipeline rather than repairing the individual leak in that section. In this case, we must record the number of the grade of the leaks. The Gas Pipeline Technology Committee Guide Material Appendix G 192.8 Section 4 Identifying Threats Table 4.1 Sample Threat Identification Methods Section 5.1 Evaluating Rank Risk in General. Alright, guidance information. The operator must have written the distribution integrity management plan that contains the procedures developing and implementation of each of the requirement 192.1057B. The procedure must adequately detail, clearly describe the manner that each of the requirement will be met. The procedures need to provide with a description of who, what, when, where, and how the operator implemented the elements. Operator must follow the procedures of the distribution integrity management program, and an individual procedure document should include the management approval of the origin, the date, the effective date of the last revision. The additional information, see the guidance section 192.1005. The threat identification process must need the established realistic information of the threats provided with determination whether their frequency or level of the significance required in any action that goes beyond normal operation practices, and understanding the threats and risks specific to any of the operators systems come to the analyzing information in the company's operating maintenance inspection records, including but not limited to the following: specific surveys, patrolling records, corrosion of the control records, and leaking of the incident data. Even if the operator concludes that the particular threat is not applicable to the section of the pipeline, the base of the drawing of such conclusion must be documented. Data the operator must not discontinue and eliminate any existing of the potential threat or subsystems without any adequate basis for doing so. The base must consider the pipeline failure history and design, manufacture, construction, operation, maintenance. Unavailable information is not justification for exclusion of the threat, wherein data about the missing or insufficient conservative assumptions must be used in the risk assessment. Records must be maintained and identified how the status identified are used until the impact of variability and accuracy or of risk analysis can be considered. In order to be considered with the 8 primary threats, the operator must review the data of the records containing the information that could be used to determine the extent of the problem that could be used by each threat. Perception of the problem, lack of the problem need to be supported by the available information. 6. Excavation damage must be included with the threats considered with the distribution integrity management program. Even if the operator has a good external damage control experience through the damage prevention program, it is not applicable for the operator to say that this threat is dealt with outside of the distribution integrity management program. Therefore, needs to be included. The excavation data is always the potential threat, and regardless of whether the specific subsystem has been experienced damage. Potential threats and threats where the operator's necessary experience with the leak of the release of the gas pipe has been conditions conducive into the threat of the atmospheric corrosion of hurricanes, flooding, excavation damage materials with known integrity issues. Examples include but are not limited to the following: trenchless technology used in the area and unknowingly bored through the sewer or water lines, future utility road improvements projects discovered the material not previously known to be the system customer built structures over the existing pipeline, pressurizing the events, instance of pipe damage, including the damage of the tracer wire that did not result in release of the pipe material susceptible to the brittle brittle failure modes, possible source of the information to consider the identifying potential threats, including the past operational maintenance procedures, purchase order material listing, and or other field operator standard information from the industry source, e.g. plastic pipe data. The committee with the Pipeline Hazard Safety Administration advisory bulletins information should include past continuing service surveillance records of 192-613. Many operators perform measures to reduce the risk into the distribution integrity management program if the measures were effective the operator may have experience with failures due to the threat of the measure addressed. The operator has mitigated the potential threat, and these activities need to be included with the threat identification risk evaluation. Examples of a probable violation: the operator does not have the procedure to cover the task required. The operator fails to have written procedure. The procedures do not include the review of all 8 primary threats. For all of the 8 primary threats required by the rule were not adequately concerned or evaluated. 5, the multiple threats from the 8 primary threat categories were not adequately evaluated to characterize of the operating system. 6, the specific threats were eliminated with consideration without adequate justification. The operator does not use the relevant operating maintenance records in evaluating each of the threat. 8, eliminating of the threat is not sufficiently documented. 9, the procedures did not adequately describe the requirements identifying the evaluation threats. 10, the procedure does not contain the sufficient detail and clarity to allow anyone of the using them to understand the following. 11, the operator did not use the responsible operating subdivision of the threats to identify the existing and potential threats. Identifying the threat relies on the information of the subject material experts who lack the appropriate knowledge and experience. The procedure does not include the review of the potential threats, and the operator does not use the reasonable available records to identify the threats. Operator of the distribution integrity management plan did not consider data the external source identifying the potential threats. 16, the distribution integrity management plan did not identify the records containing with the appropriate characteristics of the pipeline designed to assess each of the threat category, subcategory to the operator's pipeline. 17, the operator definition of the excavation damage is written in the distribution integrity management program or in how the distribution integrity management program is implemented does not include the non-leak damages included damage in coating, supports, and cathodic and protection or housing. Examples of evidence. Copies of applicable pages of the Operative Distribution Integrity Management Program, which demonstrates inadequate procedures, responsible available external information advisory bulletins to define the threat of applicable to the operating system that has not been considered in developing the Distribution Integrity Management Program. Documented photographic evidence demonstrating the violation. Documented oral written statements with the operating personnel. Other special notifications not foreseen. Alright, in Distribution Integrity Management, Part 1 and 2, December 21st, 2012, 192-107C. They are required what are the required elements of an integrity management plan? A written integrity management plan must contain the procedures developing the implementation of the following elements. The existing code language evaluating the risk. The operator must evaluate the risk associated with the distribution pipeline. In evaluation, the operator must determine the relative importance of each of the threat and estimate the rank of the risk posed by the pipeline. Evaluating must consider with each applicable occurrence of the potential threat and likelihood of failure associated with each of the threat. Potential consequences such as a failure and operator may be subdivided in the pipeline in regions similar to the characteristics continuous as where the distribution pipeline consisting of the main services and the prudencies as are Commonwealth materials, environmental factors for width and similar actions likelihood would be effective with reducing the risk. The origin of code 119 through 11374 Federal Registration 63906 December 4th 2009 and last amended 119 through 1916 76 5494 February 1st 2011. The interpretation summaries are not foreseen. The advisory bulletin alert notices summaries. Advisory Bulletin 1205 issued March 23rd, 2012. The Pipeline Hazard Material Safety Administration urges owners to conduct a comprehensive review of their cast iron distribution pipeline system, place the program to accelerate the pipeline rehabilitation, replace aging and high-risk pipe, and also notice for regulation requirements of the natural gas distribution companies under the Distribution Integrity Management Program. Other reference or material sources addressed with the Distribution Integrity Management Program Final Rule Preamble of the Federal Registration, Volume 74, Number 232, Friday, December 4th, 2009, Rules and Regulation, comment the topic 222, the Risk Assessment, page 3639020. The Distribution Integrity Management frequently asked questions. C4C1, what are the key things that the operator should be focused on with developing the effective risk assessment management? C4C2, from which data the operator required to collect the data for the plan? C4C3, how are the newly identified threats to the system integrity expected to handle in an operator distribution integrity management program plan? C4, C6, do multiple threats that need to be considered for each of the facility grouping? Do all threats need to be one related risk ranking? C4, C6, what is expected of the multiple state operator regards the risking ranking? C4, C7, what plan performing the risk ranking by state, regardless of the outcome of the risk ranking, will not decrease the historical level of expenditure of each state. However, the system-wide risk ranking will be used to determine whether the expenditure beyond the historical levels will be allocated. Does that meet the intent of the state by state risk ranking? The Gas Pipeline Technology Committee, the GPTC Guideline Material Appendix G 192.8, Section 5, Evaluating Ranking Risk. All right, guidance information. The operator must have the written distribution integrity management plan that contains the procedures developing and implementation of each of the statute 192.107C. The procedure must adequately detail to clearly describe the manner in which the requirement will be met. The procedure will not provide will need to provide the description of who, what, when, where, and how the operator will implement the elements. The operator must follow the procedure distribution integrity management plan, and individual procedure documents should include the management approvals, origin dates, effective date of the last revision. For additional information, see the guidance in section statute 192.105. Then once the threat has been identified, the operator may develop a method to assess the priorities associated with risk in order to address those in the greatest concern first. In performing the risk assessment, it is important to note that the risk is likelihood of the event occurring at the time of the consequence of the event, and an event that is highly likely, also highly public safety of the consequences constitute an event of the greatest concern. Unlikely the event of having minimal consequences may not justify extraordinary precaution, and unlikely event that could have a very high consequence must justify additional precautions. The distribution incident are often events that are likelihood but of the higher consequence. 4. Based on the analysis, the operator must consider the additional segmentation of the distribution system in order to focus on the certain portion of the system of the risk evaluation and risk management action segments existing of the similar attributes. Operational maintenance history should be grouped together with the application of the measure of the reduce of the risk. The subsystems are too large and are of average number are used of the system as a whole. Higher risk of the pipe may not be adequately identified. 5. The operator should develop the weighting factor for each of the threats specific of the system, depending on the unique operating environment. The risk must be taken in account, but both likelihood and consequence factors. The operator must identify both the likelihood, frequency, consequence, potential impact of the failures due to each of the threat subcategories of the threat. For each of these systems, determine the relatively risk, with the risk of the reach the threshold set by the operator measures to reduce the risk when it may be needed to address the threat. All right, examples of likelihood factors 1 through 4. Leaks per mile, maintaining leaks per mile of the main and material pipe. 2, leaks per unit of the service based on size of the operator. 3, amount of the construction activity in the area. 4, number of the hits per unit and local tickets. B, the example of the consequence factors 1 through 6. Operating pressure. 2, population density, downtown versus rural. 3, impact of lost supply. 4, number of the customers affected. 5, proximity of structures to critical facilities, schools, and hospitals. 6, proximity knowledge groups of the people who limited mobility, usually institutionalized. All right, 7, characterizing distribution system and the logical unit of the facility process, the prioritizing risk of the subdivision warranted, but the distribution system should be divided into sufficient number of the distribution segments in order to effectively assess the threat of the system. The operator can be manage the risk, addressing significant threats to the specific section to the extent that the threat is significant and may be prevalent through the operator system, and it may exist and only in a certain specific localized section of the system. It is inadequate for the operator to conclude that the pipeline is not subject to the material threat or threats based solely on the fact that it has not been experienced with the pipeline failure that has been attributed with the threat, and an operator also must consider the potential threats. 9. The operator must process the validating results of the risk ranking. The operator must follow the procedure. The result So if the jury-generated model should agree with the consensus of the validation group, if the analysis results do not identify the known risk and the factors, the evaluation model or method should be questioned, analyzed, necessary, revised. The verification process should be compare with the result of the risk evaluation to operator industry experience advisory bulletins, PPCD reports. Vendor notification methods of validation include a team review of the results, B, subject matter experts reviews. Examples of probable violations. The operator does not have the procedure to cover the task required by the operator to follow the written procedure. The operator has not conducted the risk assessment. 4. The comprehensive risk analysis was not included adequately developed. All portions of the pipeline were not included the risk analysis. 6. The process did not adequately consider risk factors unique to the operator system when using the standard risk model. 7. The risk analysis process was not adequately documented. 8. The risk analysis process did not adequately consider all risk factors. 9. Risk weighing factors were not adequately validated or justified. 10. Likelihood of the consequences of pipeline failures was not adequately considered with the risk analysis. 11. Explicit guidelines and process formality were not provided in support use of the subject matter experts in the risk analysis. 12. Operator specifically failure history. The operating experience were not adequately considered in the risk analysis. 13. Field input was not adequately incorporated with the risk analysis. 14. General and defaults were inappropriately used when data had not been collected. 15. Poor quality data were used in the risk analysis. 16. Basic risk model scores was not adequately documented with the distribution integrity management plan. Does not contain the procedural determining applicable potential threats and likelihood of the failure, potential consequences of the failure. 18. The operator to subdivided system regions that do not have similar characteristics in which similar actions are likely to be effective in reducing a risk. 19. Subdivision combines with the systems of distribution, referring to the characteristics for which the similar actions are not likely to be effective in reducing risk. Subdivision operating as a system based on a sole geographic location, not on a system characteristics. So 21. The analysis result did not adequately identify the dominant risk factors. 22. The risk analysis result was not adequately aggregated. Such segments of specific risk measurement were obscured. 23. The impacts of uncertainties of the result were not adequately considered. 24. The risk assessment does not prioritize pipeline segments. 25. The process of the operator described in the procedure is not sufficiently documented, but the inspector can make the responsible determination as to the accuracy throughout the process. Procedures do not contain the adequate detailed clarity to allow the clear understanding of the process. 27. The risk calculation does not consider the likelihood of consequences of the current or potential threats. 28. The risk calculation does not determine the relative importance of the threat. 29. The operator did not validate the result of the risk evaluation. 30. The selection process of subject matter experts were flawed. 31. Operator history is not consistent with the output of the risk evaluation model. 32. The information provided with the validation team did not concur with the results, and their differences were evaluated and addressed. 33. The operator's documentation evaluated the ranking result. Example of the evidence: copy the applicable page of the operator's distribution integrity management plan, which demonstrates the inadequate procedure. 2. The printout of the operator risk and ranking result. 3. The proportion of the documentation commercial product that demonstrated should not have been used in the manner of the operator used. 4. The documented photographic evidence demonstrating the violation. 5. The documented oral or written statements of the operator personnel. Other special notifications are not advisable. Alright, Distribution Integrity Management, Part 192, December 21st, 2012, 192.107D, what are the required elements of the Integrity Management Program. Existing code and language. A written Integrity Management Program must contain the procedures developing the implementation of the following elements: identifying the implementing procedures to address the risk, determining the implementation measures designed to reduce the risk from the failure of the gas distribution pipeline. The measures must include an effective leak of the management program unless all leaks were repaired and found. Origin of Code 192.113.74.63.906, December 4th, 2009. Last amended 192.117, 7 Federal Register 76.54.94, February 1st, 2011. Interpretation summaries are not advisable. Advisory are not foreseen. Advisory bulletin alternate notice and summaries. Advisory bulletin 10102 issued October 2000. Emergency plan procedure responding to the multiple gas leaks, migration of gas into the buildings. Advisory bulletin on 1008 issued November 3rd, 2010. Pipeline safety emergency preparedness communication. Advisory bulletin 99. 8904, issued in August 23rd, 1999. Directional drilling, other operation conducted with the proximity undergoing pipeline facilities. Advisory Bulletin 9403, issued February 23rd, 1994. Pipeline is a common right-of-way of the parallel right-of-way over the cross of the rail of the right-of-way. Advisory Bulletins 90402, issued January 1994, valve location and spacing. Advisory Bulletin 9303, the July 29, 1993, advisory owners and the operator of hazardous liquid natural gas line pipeline facilities in areas of flooding. Alternate notice 9104, issued in November 20th, 1991. The National National Transportation Safety Board recommendation ASP 91.3 and P 91.4 and 03 of the March 15, 1990, New York Lake explosion requiring operators to extend the public education emergency preparedness program. The alternate notice 8902, issued April 13, 1989, resulted of the operational conducted with the investigation in San Bernardino, California, May 12, 1989, train derailment. Each of the gas liquid operators should test the check valves. Okay, other reference and materials addressed with the Distribution Integrity Management Program. Final ruling pre-applied to the Federal Register, Volume 74, number 2232, Friday, December 4th, 2009. Rules and regulation. Comment topic of the 14 Leaking Monitoring Program, page 63, 9017. Comment topic 67, Integrated Management. Integrated Measure Program, Evaluation and Improvement, page 63.918. Comment topic 23, Performance Measures, page 63.9 and 2022. Distribution Integrity Management, frequently asked questions. C4D81, must the operator implement additional accelerated actions to reduce the risk from its pipeline? C4D82, how will the small operator with limited staff be able to implement the requirements of the risk analysis, selection, and the risk control measures? C4D3, if the operator already has the leakage management report, does the operator have implemented the new program in response to the regulation? C4D4, why not simply requires the operator of the gas distribution pipelines to replace the old pipe? C4D5, what kind of issues should the operator focus on the addressing of the threat of the excavation damage as part of the Distribution Integrity Management Program? C4D6, in order to eliminate the need for the leakage management program, however quickly would the operator need to repair all leaks? C4D7, can the installation of excessive flow valves method to mitigate the risk, and what criteria should an operator use to identify the measures to reduce the risk needed? C4D9, do all the actions of the operator take to reduce the risk need to be included with the Distribution Integrity Management Program? C4D10, we have heard the operators required to implement specific measures to reduce the risk, and can you describe the required action? C4D11, how can an operator demonstrate the leak of the management program is effective? The Gas Pipeline Technology Committee, the Guide Material Appendix of the 192.18, Section 8, identifying and implementing measures to address risk. The general guidance information, the operator must have a written distribution integrity management plan that contains the procedures developing and implementing each of the requirements in Section 192.107D. The procedure must adequately detail, clearly describe the manner of which each of the requirement will meet. The procedure will need to provide with the distribution of who, what, when, where, and how the operator will implement the elements, and the operator must follow the procedures of Distribution Integrity Management Program, and individual procedures. Documentation should include management approval, origin of date, and effective date of the last revision. For additional information, see the guidance of the Section 192.105. 2. The design, operation, distribution system diverse with no single risk of the control method appropriate in all cases. The operator must have documented list of measures to reduce the risk that they are planning for. The implementation risk can be to reduce. Implementing the risk control practices to decrease the likelihood in the event of the occurring, mitigated with the consequences of the event. 3. In considering gas distribution, it is essential to remember that the consequence of failure distribution system may take the protracted period of the time of developing and gas mitigation. During the period of the time, the certain techniques can be used to detect the failure. Actions can be taken to address the failure before it results in an incident. For the process of identifying the additional measures must be identified with the threats of each of the pipeline segment risk analysis. Clearly, the facilities and the group of facilities representing the high risk of the most interpreting and important candidates and measuring the reduce the risk. Therefore, operating must ensure the measures selected with the risk reduce the risk that are implemented with the high risk priority of the high risk rank segments facility as indicated with the risk analysis. 5. Operators required to implement schedule measures to address the propensity and risk of the identified with the risk evaluation August 2nd, 2011. The process ongoing of the one of the revision appropriate and expected. Some of the measures can be implemented immediately. Others, the pipeline replacement, may require a budget approval. Allocation of resources that appropriate should have considered this and scheduled major measures appropriate with the distribution integrity management plan. Operators must provide the schedule and when measures to reduce will be taken as quickly as practical after they identify the need for the such of the risk, and in such a situation where the lengthy period of the required the implementation, operators should determine the relatively simple and interim measures that can be taken to reduce the risk with the major of the projects are being implemented, but the operator is expected to promptly identify the needs of the measure in the event of the new risks. 6. The operator must be able to produce the records demonstrating the risk measure of the implemented with the schedule to be implemented. The schedule measure should be justified based on complexity of the implementation, consideration, need for the additional resources, the consideration, local jurisdiction, and the qualified personnel, etc. The procedure must be in detail, but the basis for the decision documented as part of the operator's distribution integrity management plan. The decision include which measures to reduce the risk on the implementation schedule for the implementation of the measure to reduce the risk of the performance metrics of the measure to reduce the risk. 7. The risk driver of each of the high-risk segments should be considered when determining the most effective mitigation option. The operator should understand the risk of the analysis resulting sufficient to determine the factors that affect the risk and the amount of the IG risk driver. The selected preventive and mitigative measures the effect of dominating risk factors, the usual growth of the overall risk of the stores of the determining measure of the reduce the risk with the important may contain information enough to identify the most effective candidate measure of the reduce the risk. While the evaluation may or may not in any action be implemented, it is important the operator progress be prior risk proportions of the pipeline. 8. Leakage data must be evaluated to identify trend of the leak of the pipe different the attributes of the leak management program is effective with the hazard to leaks and are repaired promptly, and all other leaks are graded and scheduled and repaired and monitored. The leak management system must provide with the recheck and the leak of the repairs after it is repaired before the leak is cleared. Repair when found means that all the leaks are treated with the hazard of leak and either properly continuously monitored by the operator personnel under the repair with the delayed period of the discovery, e.g. 1 month, is not repaired when found. Operators who do not repair all leaks promptly continuously monitors the leaks until the repair must be a leak management program. Alright, 10. An effective leakage program includes the audited field verification to ensure the individuals assigned to evaluate the leaks are classifying the grading leaks and consistently crossing the system. The procedure shall include the requirements for the periodic field evaluation for active leaks and ensure the leak has not become more severe requiring classification, regrading, changing. Routine self-assessment. Overall leakage management program should be performed by the operator. The operator shall take actions if inconsistent with the as are identified. Alright, examples of probable violation. Operator does not have the procedure to cover the task required. The operator fails to follow the written procedure. The comprehensive risk of the analysis process was adequately implemented. The procedure does not require the identification measures to reduce the risk. 5. The risk mitigative measures identified by the operator does not specifically address the risk factors. 6. The procedure does not require the scheduled implementation measures to reduce the risk. 7. The procedure identified the additional measures is not based on identified threats of each of the pipeline segment risk analysis. 8. The procedure evaluation and additional preventive mitigative measures does not adequately describe the method used to appropriate the selection of risk mitigative measures intended to reduce the risk of a specific threat. 9. The procedure contains adequate detailed clarity to allow the individuals were not previously involved in the process to perform the task. The process does not adequately require documented justification decision regarding additional preventive measures and mitigative measures. The distribution integrity management plan does not provide a process to implement mitigative measures. The schedule implemented mitigative measures is not provided with the measures to reduce the risk have not been forward according to the operator's procedure. Operators do not identify measures to reduce the risk when required by risk of the evaluation. 15. The operator has not kept records of demonstrating the implementation of the measures to reduce the risk. 16. The operator cannot produce the documentation measures already in progress. 17. All records of the factors were not adequately considered in the preventive mitigative evaluation process. The impact of the mitigative and preventive mitigative actions on the risk were not adequately evaluated. All right, 19. Risk mitigated measures housed in other programs were either not included in the reference to the distribution integrity management program. 20 leaks in gray were non-hazardous are becoming the hazardous leak before the repair and the operator has not self-assessed or made appropriate adjustment into the making of the leak management program. 20. The operator is not rechecking the leaks when within scheduled time period of the operator. 22. The operator is not evaluated the leak program to determine if it is effective. 23. The operator is not assured the consistency of the leak of the grading across the system. 24. The procedure is not sufficient documented to allow the inspector to make a reasonable determination and accuracy thoroughness of the process. Procedure does not contain the sufficient detail clarity of all and allow any one of the using them in the performing the task. 26. The leak management was either not included, not referenced in the distribution integrity management program, not in applicable the operator repair, and all leaks were found. Copies of the applicable pages of the examples of evidence or copy of the applicable pages of the operative distribution integrity management program when demonstrated with the adequate procedure. 2. The copy of the risk evaluation demonstrated the measurement to reduce the risk needed to be not on schedule. 3. The recording indicating that the operator is not making progress in implementing measures to reduce the risk. 4. The indicating the operator is not adequately following the leak management program. Records indicating that the monitoring deadlines are not to be met and repairs are exceedingly deadlines demonstrate. Documented photographic evidence demonstrates the violation. And 6. The examples of evidence to documented oral written statements by the operator personnel, other special notations not visited. Alright, I'm going to take a slight break.